Lights, camera, action. Let's start the show. Here's a little bit of wedding advice from me to help your love story unfold. Hi, lovebirds. Welcome back to your wedding series. We are in season 2, episode 6. You guys know what we're doing. We are planning your wedding from the beginning. Now, most of you have been with me since season 1, where we talked all about how to plan your wedding the right way while dating for marriage. The world will tell you their way of preparing for a wedding and dating and this and that, but we were over here talking about dating for marriage the right way and how you can prepare for the wedding and planning and preparing for marriage. So, we did talk about expenses and things like that. Where is all this money going to come from, right? We live in a time where money is definitely the topic in the room that everyone doesn't want to discuss. And so we've been talking about planning your wedding from 14 years old, and that's how you're going to start planning and preparing for marriage. Now, nobody gets married at 14 years old, not these days, I know, but we started planning your marriage and wedding from then so that you understood about financial security and building success, not only in that beautiful wedding day, but also in yourself mentally, physically, how to become a wife, how to become a husband, how to become parents. So go back to season 1 if you didn't get a chance to learn about all those things before you continue on with me here in season 2. We fast forwarded to the age in which you are now engaged, okay? So you're engaged and you're planning this wedding and you're getting on with the rest of your life. There's a new chapter that has begun, okay? But it's going to be a little bit confusing when I'm talking about money and finances and the house and building the house and all these things when you're like, yeah, we can't do any of that. Well, that's because you didn't watch season 1. So go back and look at season 1 so that you can be prepared here for season 2. It's like missing pieces of the book without having the full story. So I do suggest that you go back and you look back over and watch these things and send me any questions that you may have. So you may have some questions, and that's okay. You're welcome to reach out to me and we can discuss. Okay. So, getting right back into our wedding series. It's all about planning your wedding, and there's tons of events, and that's why we're calling it a wedding series because there's so many fun events. We so far have already had 2 events in your wedding series, and that was the marriage proposal itself, and then we've also had the engagement party. Now there's more events that are here to come, and remember, you don't have to do all of the events as a person who's going to be a bride or who's going to be a groom. What's important is the wedding day, not all of these events in between. Okay, it's a great time to celebrate, and so these events give you a chance to celebrate as much as you want or as little as you want. As your content creator, I am there to help you to take all the pictures and videos that you need by cell phone so that you can upload them to social media and you don't have to wait for your traditional wedding photographer, your traditional videographer to get you those pieces of amazing memories that you want to share right away. You don't want to wait, okay? And you don't want to rely on your friends and family to take those photos and videos because who knows, they may not take a lot of you. They may take a lot of themselves, but not a lot of you. Okay. So you want to make sure that you have footage of you. And so that's what I do as your content creator. Let's get in here to season 2, episode 6. Well, we are talking about today's topic. Avoiding these mistakes when planning your wedding date. It's time to set your wedding date. Okay, this is so exciting. It's time to do this, you guys. It's time to set your wedding date. The day has finally came. We being in season 2, episode 6, a lot has happened leading up until now, okay? Now, some of you may have already set your wedding date before you even had an engagement party, and that's okay. This episode can still be beneficial to you so that you can help somebody who comes along behind you and how to prepare and set their wedding date, okay? And how to pick the right wedding date because whoo, you don't want to pick the wrong wedding date. That's something that you just don't want to do. You don't want to pick the wrong wedding date. Now, when it comes to the wedding date itself, there are some things that you need to consider. First, the season, the time of year. We have winter, fall, spring, and summer. Most people are so excited for the sunshine. Majority, not everybody. I know there are some people who really, really enjoy like a winter wedding, but there are people who really, really love the sunshine. And so they would prefer something that is going to be in the summer, okay? But when we're thinking about summer weddings and all that sunshine or a great spring wedding, we have to take the weather into consideration when it comes to seasons. Okay. Now, this is nothing that you don't already know, but you have to consider your guests. What are they going to be wearing? Are they going to be comfortable at your summer wedding when the sun is like hitting them directly in the eyes for that first hour that they're sitting there for your ceremony? Some people's ceremonies are 30 minutes, some people's ceremonies are an hour to an hour and a half depending on which traditions that you want in your wedding ceremony. So now you are you have to keep your guest in mind. I know that it's your day. I know that it's important that like it's you guys first, right? It's you guys first. So, but it's important to keep them in mind when it comes to wardrobe, comfortability, all of these things, okay? So, think about if they're going to be super hot at your wedding that is outdoors. Okay. So that's something else to think about when setting a date. If it's going to be outside, it's just something to consider. Now, I've gone to some weddings where it's been the was just so harsh, literally directly into my eyeballs. And thankfully, I brought an umbrella because if I hadn't, that would have been really bad. But then you have the people behind me that are, having trouble seeing because now I have to put my umbrella up. Well, I have to because I have, you know, I need to protect myself. I have my health to be considering. So even though it's 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes even an hour and a half for a ceremony, I don't want to be putting myself at risk. Okay. So we will be talking about what guests can bring to the wedding so that they are comfortable because I think a lot of times people forget about the guest. Okay. So we will have an episode dedicated to wedding guests and what they can bring to the wedding so that they are comfortable at the wedding. Okay. Now, let's get into the other season, which is like completely the opposite, and that's freezing cold. All right, nobody wants to be cold. Nobody wants to be freezing cold. Even if you live in Alaska, you live in, somewhere in the Midwest, you live in Canada, whatever it might be, you live in New York City, and like it's just a cold place majority of the time, right? Wherever it is that you live. Nobody wants to be cold. So you also have to consider, okay, you want an outdoor wedding and everyone's going to be freezing? That would not be good. That would not be good. So you want to consider like should we move the wedding indoors? Maybe we should move it indoors. Maybe we should have it indoors. Have a backup plan. No matter which one that you like decide to use, because something could happen even inside. People don't think about that. You could have a septic problem. And so maybe the wedding needs to be moved outside. I don't think people consider this often that it could happen. So prepare for things to go wrong. Obviously, we want everything to go right. We want this wedding to be amazing. We want it to be perfect. But that's not always the way life works out. Life is not perfect, okay? Life has a lot of little stumbles that show up and mess us up, okay? So we have to be ready for the mess ups. So take in consideration the season, And most people want the spring and the fall because of that. They want that like in between, that it's not too hot, it's not too cold. But then those times of year also can be like a toss up of like, what is it going to feel like? Because it's, I call sketchy season to get married during that time, right? So you just have to really, really sit down and really think about your date thoroughly before you just go picking a date, okay? And I'm trying to help you to pick the right date. Now, the other thing to consider is rain, of course, snow, all kinds of other weather problems like hurricane season and things like that. I mean, there is no earthquake season that can happen at any time, so we won't consider that one. We won't think about that one. But there's all kinds of things that could happen, especially if you are having your wedding during those times of year. So I do know that people that were even having weddings during one of the hurricane seasons, and they thought, well, we live in the mountains, so like how could anything bad happen to our weddings? Well, it did. The hurricane ended up hitting them even though they are very inland and not coastal. So you just never know. You have to prepare. Maybe you have to have the biggest backup plan in the world, which is elopement, and having that elopement in another country. Okay. So consider backup plans if things don't go well, because you don't want to be super upset and you can't get any of your money back from already have planned such a grand to do. Okay. So we have the seasons. Now, the next thing to consider is the time itself. So when it comes to the time, we're looking at morning or we're looking at the evening. Most weddings that are in the morning start about 11 a.m. It gives people time to still do any kind of preparing or decorating that they didn't get to do the night before as the decorators. And so then the wedding can begin at 11 a.m. The other time that's usually more popular is 5 p.m. 5 p.m. is the next popular time. So most venues, if you're going to go to a venue, they're going to, have the 11 a.m. and the 5 p.m. slot. Also, when it came to the seasons, it's going to be, like I said, it's up to you on what day you want to choose for your wedding. But remember, the venues are also going to have popular times of year that people are picking over other times of year. So say like when I was speaking about the bad weather time. Well, they're going to have more openings during that time than the good time, right? So that's just how it works. That's just how it works. None of us want, to be out here with the horrible time of year as our wedding date. But sometimes, because you're going through a venue and you decided to go through a venue, you have to work with them on what they have, or you have to like push your date out for like years. Okay. I've seen people push their date out for like 2 years these days, and it's probably going to get even longer because people are relying on venues and their dream venue in order to get married. Okay. And so, yeah, so you want to look at the time. 11 a.m. is usually the morning, and then 5 p.m. is usually the evening. I have seen some weddings start a little bit later than 5 p.m. if you pick something like on a Thursday. And so they might be willing to work with you. That would be one of the best days to get married on if you're trying to stay on a very, very, very strict budget. If you're on a very, very strict budget, it's good to consider a Thursday. Okay. So, what ends up happening is that everybody wants Saturday. Everybody wants to get married on Saturday. And with everybody wanting to get married on Saturday, the Saturdays fill up because there's only so many Saturdays a year that a venue would have. I mean, there's 4 in a month. If you're lucky, you'll get 5. So think about it. If everybody wants 5 p.m. on Saturdays, those days, those dates and times are going to go very, very quickly. So you want to consider even a Thursday. think about that. Okay. Now, I know that means that people are going to be like, oh, I'm working. I got to take time off. This wedding is one day. So they can take the time off. They can take the time out of their life to make sure that they are at your wedding. Okay. So don't allow like that to deter you because everyone's saying like, well, I've got to work that day, and so like I won't be there if you chose a Thursday. Okay. Just know that whoever's meant to be there is going to be there. Just know that. Just know that. Just trust me on that, because people will make up idio kind of excuses and they'll try to make the wedding about them, including right here with setting the date. Okay. So you're choosing a date that's good for you as fiancés. You two are what's important for setting this date. Now, I do have a video on some story time that happened when we were trying to set our date and how so many people were involved in that. And so you may want to go and check my playlist for that. And yeah, and just kind of here's some more advice on setting your date when it comes to other people wanting to make that decision for you and how that's not good. Remember, this is not their day. They will have their day, or they've already had their day. One of the two. Maybe they've already had their day. So, what else are we considering when it comes to we've looked at seasons, we have looked at the time, and now we're going to look at other days besides Thursday. So, besides Thursday, you could look at Saturday morning. What an option that could be. Saturday morning is such a good time because most people think, okay, well, I just want Saturday night. I just need the nighttime. Or they think Friday night whenever Saturday night's not available, right? They'll go into looking at Friday night, but no one's looking at Saturday morning. So when you go to do venue shopping, if you choose a venue, then you are going to be also asking about that 11 a.m. or that morning slot on Saturdays, like I said, because most people aren't thinking about that. Thursday night and Saturday morning, or the times and days that most people aren't thinking about. So you want to keep those in mind, okay? Keep those in mind. Now, we are also going to look at we've looked at seasons, we've looked at time, we looked at some days that are some good options. Like I gave you all these, pieces of information so that we get ready to go venue shopping. It's coming up. It's coming up. Venue shopping is coming. Oh my gosh. Okay. I know we're all excited. I know we're excited. Hopefully you haven't jumped ahead and already went venue shopping. Hopefully you didn't do that without getting the advice. We're going step by step, you guys. I'm not going to miss anything. Don't worry. I'm not going to miss anything. Okay. So we've looked at seasons, so time of year. We've looked at the time itself, either morning or afternoon, evenings. It's mainly like early evening, right? 5 p.m. Maybe some 6 p.m.s if you've got some venues that'll work with you. Then I gave you 2 days that are going to be very clear winners that when you go venue shopping, that could be still on the books. Okay. That could be still on the books and have your date available. Okay. Because that's the hard part. Now, let's talk about the fact that these venues kind of keep you stuck. They keep you stuck. And the reason why I say that they keep you stuck is because they're forcing you to choose what's available. They're forcing you to choose what's available rather than you getting the opportunity to really choose the date that you want. They're forcing you. So if you go through a venue, just know, okay, well, there's a possibility that I may have to choose whatever date that they tell me is available, or I'm going to have to wait to see if somebody cancels their wedding, because people do cancel weddings. There's a lot of different reasons that people cancel weddings. Weddings are canceled. So you could try to wait and see if your dream venue has that date to come, but you could be waiting and waiting and waiting and it may not come. So Like I said, you want to have some different dates to play with and different times to play with so that you're not hurt when you come in and your dream venue doesn't have it. Also, you want to obviously look at more than one venue. Now, let's talk about having a wedding that's not a venue. What if you don't want a venue? You want to do a more traditional wedding. Did you guys know that a more traditional wedding is at a church or a courthouse? Wow. I don't think many people knew that. People are thinking that the most traditional weddings are a church or a venue, so some form of venue. That's actually more contemporary weddings, okay? That's not traditional weddings. So something to keep in mind is like, oh wait, hold on. Maybe I need to be considering a more traditional wedding. So the church and the courthouse is more than likely going to have your dream date. Okay. If you're looking for your dream date, they more than likely will have it. And now you can set that date. You can go out there and go ahead and book your wedding. We'll call it your wedding church venue or your wedding courthouse venue rather than the offset wedding venues, that we see when you're driving around. The other thing to consider is elopement. Elopement also is obviously a part of the courthouse weddings, but there's also like going on a cruise, going to another country, elopement in another city or state. So you may want to consider elopement. So just because your venue in the town that you live in or city you live in doesn't have it, maybe the next city or town or something like that has it, and then you only have to worry about the two of you getting that date as fiancés and you do an elopement rather than having a lot of people there. Maybe you just have like very, very, very close friends and family, like very, very close, like the bridal party and immediate family members. Okay. And that's okay. You don't have to have some lavish grand wedding with all of your coworkers, everyone who attends your church, everyone who you went to school with, people you haven't seen in forever. All these people that you were trying to invite and going bankrupt in doing so. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Just know that there are other options when it comes to weddings, okay? When it comes to weddings. Now, most of you already know all of this, so I need your help. I need your help. How was it when you planned your wedding? What was it like when you were planning your wedding? Or if you're someone who's at this stage, like right now, you're trying to like figure all this out. You know what? I want to hear you guys. I want to hear your story times when it comes to weddings and what it's been like to plan your wedding or what it was like to plan your wedding in the past when it came to your wedding date. Did you pick the traditional, church or courthouse, or did you go the contemporary way? I think that most people think that that is the traditional way. Right now overwhelmed, and so this video did help you because you're feeling overwhelmed, and even though you were setting this date, you thought that you knew what to do and you didn't really know what. All right, you guys, I'm having another technical difficulty here trying to get into my notes. Let's see. I'm trying to get into my notes here, and this is giving me such a problem. I did want to add one more piece of advice when it comes to setting your date. If you're going to be doing like a private home wedding, meaning like it's going to be at someone's home, or maybe it's even your home that you own, you don't have to worry about the stress of setting a date. It can be stressful when you're working with venues, okay? But when it's your own private home or someone else's private home, maybe it's like a private barn or private two-story home or something like that, you don't have to worry about the stress of setting your date as much as others who are going through venues. And the reason why I say that is because more than likely your date is going to be available because they don't have a lot of weddings that are going on there. So that's another option to think about when sitting down to set your date. You won't have to worry about any of that if it's a private place. But let's get back into you being my guest. Be my guest here on the platform is about you coming in and sharing your story. Where are you at in the wedding planning process and how is it going for you? Are you literally about to lose your mind or is it going pretty well and you'd like to share that story? I would love to have you here on your wedding series here on the show with me. So you can either share your story with just me if you want somebody to talk to. You're looking for a good wedding pal because all your friends and family are sick and tired of hearing about your wedding. Hello, I will listen. I will help you. Also, if you just want to share your wedding planning with everybody, you want to be on the show, you want me to broadcast it on the show, perfect. I will have you on the show with me. We will do a video call where I will record the video and then I will upload and share it on to right here on the platform so everybody can check it out here on your wedding series. Now, in order to do that, you must reach out to me first. Send me an email so that we can get this conversation started. And that email address is I was going to say your wedding. It is your content creator at yahoo.com. Once again, that email address to reach out to me is your content creator at yahoo.com. Lovebirds, that is the end of our episode. We didn't have anything to put into our budget binder for today, which is woo, also awesome, awesome, awesome. No money was spent on this day of setting the date. I will see you all in the next episode, and I can't wait to see you guys then. Bye, lovebirds.